Hello and welcome to episode 5 of Aging Well in Wadsworth. This is your life, where we feature the stories of some of our members here at the Suprema Senior Center. Today we are in our lovely cafe doing a fireside chat with special guest Jean Brown. Welcome, Jean.
Thank you. Thank you.
So this is about your life today. So let's start with, where were you born and where did you grow up?
I was born in Gallipolis, Ohio, down by the banks of the Ohio, as they say. And we moved to Wadsworth when I was 8 years old. And so I grew up in Wadsworth. I went to Central School, which was, at that time, 1 through 12. And so that was quite an adventure because as a third grader, if you were in the hall when the bell rang and all these adult men and women, juniors and seniors in high school, would come by, our teacher told us, stay by the wall and you can come back to class when they go to their class. So that's what we did. Where did I grow up? Here. Have wonderful memories of Wadsworth. As I was thinking about coming today, I thought, I remember living on South Pardee Street and riding my bicycle down Mill Street Hill and up to the Grandview swimming pool when I was 10. It was just a wonderful, wonderful place to grow up. So, yes.
So you lived close enough to walk to school, walk to the Memorial Park as we now know it.
I'm glad you mentioned that because when I was in grade school, we went home for lunch.
Really?
We could go home, even some kids on Grandview Avenue, we had an hour. So, and most of our mothers, remember this is the 1950s early on, so most of our moms were still home, and we would go home for lunch and then walk back up the hill to Central School and be back in the day.
That is neat. I never knew that.
Yeah.
That's something I just learned today. That is awesome. So growing up, did you have siblings?
Oh yes, I have 2 brothers. I have an older brother, Bob, who ended up being a civil engineer and spending 13 years either in the Philippines or Jakarta, Indonesia, trying to get water and sewer through those places. I do say, I'll skip here a minute and say, my dad was a factory worker, just a factory worker over in Barberton at stinky old Midwest Rubber, which was a reclaiming rubber place, and they sacrificially helped 3 of us get through college. My younger brother, who's 5 years younger, Steve, graduated from Wadsworth and then went to Ohio State for a while and then came over to Akron University and has been very successful as a, I'm going to say, mechanical engineer and spent a lot of years at Goodyear traveling and doing all kinds of good things. And yes, I'm the middle child and I spent my wonderful life teaching.
That's awesome. So we heard a little bit about your brothers. Tell us about where did life take you? When did you graduate high school? And tell us a little bit about your adult life.
You will like this. Lori will like this especially because of my love of Massachusetts, but we'll get back to that. In grade school, I loved to sing, and so I had friends that went to the First Christian Church, the white church on the corner, and so this lady named Mary Waltz was the most patient woman in the world, and she had us all in their choir, their children's choir. So I stayed at First Christian until I went to Hiram College, because that was the church college. I graduated from Hiram in 1965, and I taught in Parma City Schools for a couple years, and then by some weird circumstances that we don't have to talk about, I was a graduate assistant at Kent State University for 18 months and loved it, and then went to Massachusetts to teach. And I know Lori's from that area. Were you raised in Massachusetts?
I grew up mostly in the Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Yes, so I'm a New England girl myself.
So while I was in college, I had the good fortune of working summer camp in a camp near Plymouth, The Rock in Massachusetts, a Campfire Girls camp, which had puppetry and modern dance and all kinds of things that you don't usually think of with camps. It was a wonderful place. I got to teach tennis, uniform camp and all of that. So when I could, I went back to teach in New England and learned to speak their language, packing the car and doing all those things. And having a whole bunch of little John Kennedy type people in my classroom saying the Pledge of Allegiance, sounding just like New Englanders, but I digress. So I had always thought, with my good health and my love of out of doors, I might go to a mission field and teach the mission kids.
Wow.
I didn't feel called to be a missionary, but I thought, well, I could at least teach in a school. And I didn't know anything about missions that much, so I was accepted to take a job the next year in Japan. In the meantime, my younger brother, who was very close to me, called me and said, I'm getting married and I would like for you to be here for that. And I didn't know her, so at that time, I took a delay, came home, and was here for a year teaching to get to know her and everything. During that time, I met this fella.
Oh.
And this fellow lived in Barberton. He was from Pennsylvania. And he convinced me that Barberton was a mission field. So I did not go, but I said we have to go somewhere where missions is really emphasized. So that's when I discovered the Christian and Missionary Alliance Church of Wadsworth, Ohio. And we started there in 1972. And I became very, very involved in the international missions group. So where do I go from there? All right.
Who was the young man that you met?
Oh, my husband, Dwayne Brown. He had been in Vietnam. He had been in Korea in the military and in Vietnam. And so consequently, when he came home from Vietnam, he was on a troop ship and he lost 12 pounds being sick to his stomach. So whenever you say something like, hey honey, let's go on a cruise, he would just start turning a little green. So we never did. And in Vietnam, he worked on airplanes, helicopter repair and small craft. And so he didn't like to fly anymore. We have driven all over the United States. It's just a beautiful, beautiful country, and so many people have no idea what's between New York and California, and it's just gorgeous. And so we did a lot of travel that way. When the children were small, we did a lot of travel that way. He became sick with dementia, and that was a whole different, not exactly what I'd planned for our retirement, but I would give a plug to the Alzheimer's Association that met here during that time. This would have been 2010, 11,
when we were
12.
located downtown as the Center for Older Adults then.
Yes, yes. And so we went to that, and I went to that and learned how to survive, because it's not fun. So Dwayne passed in 2014. He had just turned 77 years.
Wow.
My mother, on the other hand, my dad had passed in 2007, and she did not drive, she did not do a number of things, and so I kind of had both of them for a while, which it was okay. And then I concentrated on Mom, who lived to 6 weeks from 2 months from 100. And she had her mind, but not her body. Dwayne had his body, but not his mind. And so it's been interesting. But after that, I actually got to go to a couple mission fields. After retirement, I went to Bangkok, Thailand, and taught English for a while. And I've been to Jakarta, Indonesia, thanks to my brother.
Wow.
And halfway around the world, below, across the international date line, below the equator, down there. And so it's been wonderful. I've I've really done some fun things.
What great opportunities. So, and we know your career as a teacher, but you also held the role as mom.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that, and did you raise your kids in Wadsworth?
Yes, we raised our children in Wadsworth. Julie was born in 75, and Lisa was born in 77. We had a wonderful, wonderful childhood. We would camp with them and take our little radio flyer type wagon and put Lisa in that. She would sleep in it and things like that. But anyway, yes, we camped at Osage Park, which is now a whole housing development. Wow. Yes, we did lots of things. We drove cross country, everything. The girls were actually my best friends all the way through high school. I mean, if one of them didn't want to go to the movie with me, the other one said sure. And if one wanted to do something or the other, or we all did things together, it was wonderful. Julie now works for the Summit County Health Department. She's a supervisor and does a lot of good stuff. And Lisa's a Spanish teacher over in Pennsylvania. Julie has my local grandson, Aiden, who is 10. No, he will be 10 in November. And, okay, I don't know if he's 10. But, and my granddaughter just started college at Duquesne Grammar University. She's in Pennsylvania, and my grandson, Mackay, is a junior in high school, and I'm looking forward to going over this coming weekend to watch him play varsity football.
Wow, that's awesome.
And then try to go to Duquesne to see Dresden, so we'll see if that works. I would mention that the people in Pennsylvania and a few around here call this Duquesne. So it's Duquesne. Thank you.
I know when I saw you this morning, I had to ask you, okay, pronounce that for me. That's awesome. So you're a proud grandma of 3.
3.
That's awesome.
Yes.
And so tell us a little bit about, you're an active resident here in Wadsworth, a senior in Wadsworth. So how are you involved in the community? I know there's lots of kids in town that would refer to you as a grandma, or
yes.
You've taught so many kids
this
over the years.
This is interesting because our minister for a period of time called me the mayor of Wadsworth, and I thought, well, that's not fair. Now, I actually had the mayor of Wadsworth in my class. Robin was one of my students. But when I get to thinking about it, the people I know from my own age, and then if you figure you have 130 to 150 students every year and 20 years, I mean, do the math.
You know a lot of people.
So yes. So I do know a lot of people. I've been blessed. I've really been blessed. What I do in Wadsworth, okay, after Dwayne had passed, I taught English as a second language. There was a church over in Fairlawn that actually had classes, and I had level 2, and there were people from Brazil and Japan and Mexico and Damascus. I had a Muslim couple from Damascus. This was all volunteer, and it was, I mean, they blessed me. I got to go to Cleveland with 2 different people. The sushi chef from Bueller's was getting his citizenship, and I got to go to Cleveland with him for that. And then one of our Mexican gals was getting her citizenship, so I did that, and it was just lots of fun. Once COVID hit, I decided the interaction with the Zoom just doesn't get it, and so I found some other things to do. While Mother was still living, she was at Liberty 1 for a period of time, and then Liberty 2, and later on at Altar Care. And there was a gal at our church, Cheryl Wilson, who could play piano, any music, anywhere. Liberty 1 and 2 had a big pile of old music. So once a month we would go up there and just sing all the old songs, sing hymns with them, sing, and just listen to their stories. And what a blessing. That was lots of fun. I'm very active in the missions group at my church. and some community groups there. This is a wonderful place right here. I love to come here and get recharged.
That is awesome. So what are some of your favorite things that you do at the Suprema Senior Center?
Well, okay. The big activities like the boat cruise. I mean, my goodness, that just happened. And you think it's just happening, but all of a sudden it's huge. The decorations, getting your picture taken looking like you're on a surfboard and singing along as we're driving along in that bicycle
The Grizzly
unit.
pedal bike,
The
yes.
Grizzly pedal bike. That was incredible. There are lots of, as I said, the support groups for when you are a caregiver, and I'm so grateful that they were there when I needed them, and I'm grateful that they're there for these people. The coffee with the cop is tremendous, the muffins with the mayor, the chili with the chief. Yeah, some of these things where we just get to know some of these people a little better and that sort of thing, but just coming and meeting people and seeing the smiles, and the people who work here in the cafe are tremendous. I mean, Crystal and Donna and let's keep going, Jean. Ruby, who's the main cook, and Michelle, and anyway, they are just so personable and so caring that everybody feels really welcome, and I love it. I'll probably think of other things when I get home that I could have said and should have said, but those are the ones that come to mind right away.
That's awesome. Well, it's always a bright spot. You walk by my office almost every day, and I love getting to say hello to you. So what would you give as advice for aging well? Any advice or tidbits for...
You know, this is an interesting thing. I think just talk to people. You know, there's a commandment that says love one another. You know, love your neighbor, love. And it's such a time right now that we just need to really, really think about that. I know that listening to some of the people in here, they have great stories. There's a lot of laughter. I think one of the things that's just really thrilled me is I did not get to go and teach on a mission field. I didn't get to go and be that. And yet, through my church and working on a missions committee and being involved with missionaries in Mongolia and Burkina Faso and Senegal, I feel like I'm a part.
That's awesome.
And where I live up behind Coles in the Stratford Crossings apartments. You can't believe, I talk to kids they're from Senegal, West Africa. I talked to a lady the other day who is from Barcelona, an older woman from Spain. We have a lady from India. We have two families from Nepal, and their little children talk to me, and just, I'm blessed. And you just look for the positive, look for the positive. I'm blessed with a wonderful church. Our Christian Missionary Alliance Church went over to Freshwater Community Church, and it is just a blessing to hear and to know how much we're loved, and then we just give it out. I just love that part. So how we do it.
That's awesome. Well, I know you mentioned the word positive, and I think that is a perfect word to describe you.
Oh.
Because you always have a smile on your face. You're a very positive person, which is great. One of my favorite memories with you, I think it was parade, the senior center. We were in the parade back in, it was either 2013 or 2014, and I walked next to you, and everybody knew you. I don't think you could stop waving. It was like walking with a celebrity. So you do know so many people from, growing up here and then teaching literally
whether they're
hundreds.
Saying hi Jean, hi Grandma Jean, or hello Mrs. Brown, we see you, and then so yeah, thank you.
That is awesome.
I just love people, everybody's got a story, and I don't know. I'm just blessed to just talk to everybody.
That's awesome. Well, having had the privilege of growing up in Wadsworth and then raising your kids in Wadsworth, what are some of your favorite memories here in town? What were things you liked to do? What would you say?
In high school, it was just so fun to be with friends, walking, after school, playing some tennis. Just life was just easy. The lights would come on, and everybody had to be home by the time the street lights came on. It was safe. You knew that parents were watching. Parents and everybody's parents expected you to say, hey, we saw your child and we're a little concerned with this or that. It wasn't nosy, it wasn't bossy, it was just a community, and just free. And so raising my children here, our children here, gosh, watching Julie play double D soccer up behind the school, which, I'm trying to think, it was still the old school, wasn't it? Yes, it was still the old high school. That was a funny story because I was a Williams. My last name was Williams. And so at OJ work, I sat in the back row, almost the back row of the balcony, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade on this side, almost in the back, 10th grade in this side, because alphabetical order. And so we were going to be seniors, and I was going to get to sit down there and actually see what was going on the stage. And we moved to the new school.
Really? So was your senior year of high school at the
new old school?
The old
new school.
So you were the first year to graduate?
First year to graduate. 61 was the first year to graduate.
Wow.
So we froze. And of course, girls all wore skirts and dresses, and it was because you couldn't go to your locker between classes, so you're running around outside. I think the attendance was really good because we were all so alert from the snow and everything. So high school was wonderful. I played in the band, and it was just so fun to be a part of all of that. For the kids, Lisa was a cheerleader. Julie was on like a debate, only it was a duo that went clear to state. So we were excited about some of the things that went on there. Teaching was incredible. I taught at Central for 5 years, then stayed home with the kids for some years, and then went back into teaching. I thought once that my tombstone should say, loved to teach.
Aww.
I loved to teach. My husband is at the military cemetery, as are my parents, and that's not one of the little blurbs you can put on the back of your tombstone. But it's just been a wonderful life. I'm 81 and went kayaking for the first time this last weekend.
That's great, and that was a bucket list item for you.
That was a bucket list item, and
that's wonderful.
So I'm blessed with health. My faith in God is just incredible. It just gives me peace and joy, and I don't know. My church is wonderful, and I just feel blessed. I wanted to say that, talking about the senior center, I'll just do this quickly. I met a lady just before we took the ride on the bicycle unit, and she said, I just didn't want to join. I thought it was just going to be a bunch of old people playing cards. And she said, I was so surprised. Now, I do want to say, for all the card players who might be watching this, we do have cards, and they have such a good time. But it's not the only thing. It's not the main thing. It's just one of the wonderful things that goes on here at the Senior Center.
Yes, well, we're so happy to have you a part of the Suprema Senior Center, Jean, and thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Growing up in Wadsworth, and then life took you to New England, and you know what? You ended up here. You're retired now, and you give so much back to the community. So thanks for joining us today. Thank you for watching Aging Well in Wadsworth. This is your life. If you would like to share your story, please contact me, Lori Wilkinson, and we'd love to hear about your life. Thanks for watching.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.